Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Heavenly Parent Holy Community Oceania Morning Hundakwe. So today we have Reverend Romo and GD representing on this Wednesdays, the 5th of August 2026 or the 23rd of June, 14 years of Shangikuk and 21 day of our 40-day condition. So thank you all for coming. So let's just begin by offering bow to our Heavenly Parent and to parents of heaven, earth, and all humankind. 하늘 부모님과 천지인 참 부모님께 경배. 바로 Next, let's recite our family praise together. 가정 맹세. 오, 천국 주인, 우리 가정은 참 사랑을 중심하고 메인 주제적 천상 세계와 대상적 지상 세계의 통일을 향해 선진적 발전을 촉진할 것을 맹세하나이다. 5. Our family, the owner of Shangikuk, pledges to strive every day to advance the unification of the spirit world and the physical world as subject and object partner by centering on true love. Next, I would like to offer a prayer with the prayer title of Two Mothers Prayer of Liberation, Goli Island, Senegal, 19 January 2018. Heavenly Parent, how many long years have passed as you worked hard and took a sorrowful course to find your sons and daughters. We know of the history that has pained heaven many times because of humankind's ignorance. Heavenly Parent, nonetheless, you never gave up on us. Thus, you were able to find the victorious two parents, for whom you had wished for so long. When all the people of the world are reborn through two parents, and we can call my son my daughter, there will be such a happiness and delight on that day. Heavenly Parent, the two parents, true mother, the only begotten daughter of God, has come here today. Christianity did not know your deeply will or Jesus' essence, and then left a sorrowful history here in Africa and on Goli Island. Where did Jesus' word of love your neighbor as yourself go? How could they treat people in this way because of differences of the skin color? Please remember the people of Africa who have endured and waited for more than 500 sorrowful years. Beloved Heavenly Parent, today in the name of two parents, I liberate the sorrowful spirit of Goli Island, and through the spiritual workshop conducted by Heavenly Parent, they can be resurrected as a good spirit and return to earth and be with the descendants so that Africa can become an Africa that can realize the dream of one human family centered on Heavenly Parent and become the light and limes of the world. Let's cooperate enthusiastically to achieve a world of no more conflict, suffering, or war. One world of complete harmony and unification centered on Heavenly Parent. I liberate and proclaim this in the name of two parents, Achu. Thank you. And before we welcome up Reverend Romo and Judy, I would like to share a prayer song. So let's just listen together.
이 시간 오로지 어머님을 위해 저희들이 다 함께 찬양
Let us offer this
하겠습니다.
praise only for true mother.
그 어머님의 금 이 뜻을 이루어 드릴 수 있는 참된 자녀가 되겠습니다. 아재! 차렷 견례 바로.
Now let us give a warm welcome to Reverend Romo and Judy.
Good morning, Heavenly Parents, true parents. Good morning, dear brothers and sisters. So now let's start our morning hunduke. So for today's reading, it will be taken from The Value of True Parents in Heaven's Providence, Heavenly Parents Holy Community, Chonmuwon, Chapter 4, True Mother, the Only Begotten Daughter, born for the first time after 6,000 years. The birth and course to maturity of the only begotten daughter. Now we will be focusing on this topic, the birth and course to maturity of the only begotten daughter, with the following subtopics: the birth of the only begotten daughter coming for the first time, followed by the course to maturity of the only begotten daughter and heaven's protection, and lastly, personal resolve to participate in the holy wedding. So the birth and course to maturity of the only begotten daughter. The birth of the only begotten daughter coming for the first time. True Mother, the only begotten daughter, was born among the chosen Korean people. Her birth came upon the foundation of Christian revival in Korea that grew out of the awakenings that arose around the world and the devotion of Korea's spirit-led Christian groups. So, on the previous reading, we have known that throughout the unfolding of history, we have seen that the Catholic Church, which was originally guided by the Holy Spirit, right after the receiving of the Pentecost of the apostles, the succeeding generations gradually fell into corruption and became consumed by the pursuit of power, wealth, and position. In response, many sincere believers sought to restore a closer relationship with God. So this desire gave rise to the Protestant Reformation, led by Martin Luther and later advanced by reformers such as Ulrich Zwingli and John Calvin. The Reformation also influenced the Puritans who journeyed to the New World and contributed to the establishment of America as a nation with strong Christian foundations. In time, America have produced missionaries that carried the gospel to Korea, where Christianity took root and spirit-led Christian movements emerged. And because of this, we can really see that this is the historical preparation ultimately contributed to the emergence of the only begotten daughter. Most Christians are not aware of the preparations that were made to receive the only begotten daughter throughout Christianity's 2,000-year history. Jesus Christ, the Messiah, whom God had sent, said, I will come again. This tells us of his desire to return for the marriage supper of the Lamb. Coming for the marriage supper of the Lamb means that he comes to meet his intended bride. It means that Jesus Christ, who was born as the only begotten Son, comes to meet the only begotten daughter. That is the meaning of I will come again. True parents, the only begotten daughter. This is who the Christians' 2,000 years of devotions have given birth to. Although the history of Christianity in Korea is short, within that history, there was a family who, unlike most other Christians who were waiting for the Messiah to return on the clouds, firmly believed that the Messiah would return in the flesh and were preparing to meet him. True Father has said that the one who would become the mother of the universe must come from a family of 3 generations of only daughters. The foundation of Korean Christian devotion prepared to receive the only begotten daughter, True Mother, was connected to the family level foundation for the only begotten daughter in True Mother's family. At that time, spirit-led Christian groups were offering prayer and devotions after receiving revelations that the Lord would not come on the clouds, but would come to the Korean peninsula in the flesh. Among these spirit-led groups, Heavenly Parent prepared a family with 3 generations of only daughters. The foundation of the special prayers and devotions offered by these spirit-led groups was passed down to grandmother Jo Won-mo, True Mother's maternal grandmother, and Hongsun-e Demonim, True Mother's mother. Demonim attended the Presbyterian Church until she was 19, and after being guided by her mother, Jo Won-mo, to connect with spirit-led groups, she dedicated herself to a life of faith to receive the returning Lord. At age 19, she joined the group led by evangelist Wang Gokju, which was experiencing works of the Holy Spirit. On a missionary journey from Anju to Sinwiju. While at Gangi, she received a revelation instructing her, return to your hometown, and returned home. From that point, in 1933, for 3 years, she and her mother attended Pastor Lee Yong-do's New Jesus Church, where they repented daily and prayed in tears to receive the returning Lord. For the following 8 years, from 1936, Demoni maintained a faithful religious life while attending the Holy Lord Church led by Mrs. Kim Song-do. And for 4 years, from 1944, she participated in preparing to receive the returning Lord at the Inside the Womb Church of Mrs. Yo Ho-pin, who had inherited Kim Song-do's mission. So in this reading, we can really see how Heavenly Parent have really guided grandmother Jo Won-mo and True Mother's mother, Mother Demonim, to really prepare to receive the only begotten daughter. So in their life, we can see how devoted they were and how they were really guided to receive the returning Lord and later on to give birth to the only begotten daughter. Demonim's deep immersion in religious life was possible due to grandmother Jo Won-mo's guidance and support. Grandmother Jo Won-mo was an active-minded modern woman who, despite the patriarchal social atmosphere of the time, supported her daughter's missionary travels away from home and was the first to encourage her to seek out Mrs. Kim Song-do and her church. She also provided both spiritual and material support to enable Demonim to maintain a dedicated religious life at the Holy Lord Church and the Inside the Womb Church. It was also grandmother Joan Mo who helped with the birth and upbringing of the only begotten daughter. The family level foundation for the birth of the only begotten daughter was established through this mother daughter cooperation, expressed in their devout religious lives in Christian churches and spiritual groups. So, yeah, in this reading, we can see how important it is to really establish mother and child unity. And also, even in the Bible, we can see that the providence can move on when the mother and child establish unity. So in this passage, I truly realized that the unity between grandmother Joanmo and mother Demonim was truly necessary for the upbringing and for the coming of the only begotten daughter. Yeah, while leading a devout Christian life, true mother's father, Dong-un, Debonim, was one of the earliest members of Pastor Lee Yong-do's New Jesus Church, established in 1933, where Debonim served as the Director of Education at the Central Training Center. Because of his deep faith, he was entrusted with overseeing the education programs at the New Jesus Church under the guidance of pastors Lee Yong-do and his successor Lee Ho-bin, who took over after Lee Yong-do's early death from tuberculosis. Han Song-un Debonim and Hong Son-e Demonim, the parents of the only begotten daughter, met through Heavenly Parents' guidance while both were leading devout religious lives at the New Jesus Church. They were married on March 5, 1934, with Pastor Lee Ho-bin, the spiritual leader of the New Jesus Church, officiating the ceremony. At that time, Pastor Lee Ho-bin testified to having received a revelation that if these virtuous men and women marry and have a daughter, she will become the queen of humankind. And that is true mother, the only begotten daughter. Meanwhile, just as Mary had received a revelation 2,000 years earlier about her conceiving Jesus, Demonim received a special revelation from heaven. Demonim received a special revelation from heaven before her marriage about the birth of the only begotten daughter. Rejoice, daughter of Hong Ilyu. If your child is a son, he will become the king of the universe. And if a daughter, she will become the queen of the universe. Through this family, Heavenly Parent confirmed and blessed the birth of the only begotten daughter, who would become the bride at the marriage supper of the Lamb. Demonim and Debonim had met and married while leading devout religious lives at the New Jesus Church, and they continued to prioritize their religious life over family life even after marriage. According to the customs of that time, Hong Son-e Demonim should have left home to follow her husband, who was a school teacher. However, she continued to live with her mother Jo Won-mo and dedicated herself to a life of faith to welcome the Messiah at the second coming. Respecting her fervent faith, Debonim did not object to Demonim's way of life. After 8 years of marriage, Demonim conceived a baby and offered devotions with prayer to raise this precious child according to heaven's will. Finally, on the 6th day of the first month by the lunar calendar in 1943 at 26 Shinwiri, Anjugon, South Pyongan Province, Han Hakja, the only begotten daughter, whom heaven had longed for throughout the 6,000-year providence, was born. Her father, Hansong on Debunim, had a vision of two cranes playing together in a dense pine forest, bathed in a clear, beautiful sunlight. So he chose the name Hakta, crane child, for his new daughter. So yeah, in this reading, what made me realize is that we can really see that Mother Demonim has restored Mary's position, and also Father Debonim has restored Joseph's position. And yeah, we can really see also their similarities, just as Mary received revelation, Mother Demonim also received revelation, and as Joseph received revelation through a dream, also Father Debonim have received revelation through a vision. So yeah, there are similarities in them. Then next, the course to maturity of the only begotten daughter and heaven's protection. When the only begotten daughter was born, Satan appeared in Demonim's dream and tried to kill her new baby, saying, "Because of this baby's birth, I will die and my world will disappear." Demonim fought Satan all night to protect her new baby, and afterward offered even more prayer and devotion to ensure the protection and proper upbringing of the only begotten daughter. In addition, after Demonim had given birth to her precious daughter, the leader of the Holy Lord Church, Mrs. Kim Song-to, appeared to Demonim in a vision and offered her blessing on them, saying, "Sun-e, are you worried about your baby? Don't worry. This baby is the Lord's daughter, and you are like her nanny. Just nurse her well and raise her." This revealed that the only begotten daughter was born as Heavenly Parent's daughter, and her mother was instructed to raise her as if she were her nanny and educate her well as Heavenly Parent's daughter. After receiving this revelation, Demonim lived a selfless life with the heart of a nanny, setting aside her personal feelings and demonstrating absolute faith. Demonim had a dream in which an enormous hoard of items that the Japanese colonial government had plundered from Korea for producing war supplies and weapons they needed during their Pacific War were being loaded onto ships in Japan, transported across the sea back to Korean soil, and piled up in the front yard of the birthplace of the only begotten daughter. This dream showed her that heaven would provide everything needed for the only begotten daughter to complete the providence. In the year when Han Hakjang, the only begotten daughter, reached the age of 5, the mother of Mrs. Hyo Ho Bin, who was the leader of the Inside the Womb Church, received a revelation about the only begotten daughter. She testified about young Han Hakja, saying, "She is the daughter of God the Creator, and she will become the mother of the universe." Based on these revelations, Grandmother Jo Won-mo and Hong Sun-e Demonim did their utmost to offer many devotions to ensure that the only begotten daughter could grow up in a good religious environment. Grandmother Jo Won Mo emphasized to her, "Your father is God the Father," helping her feel, "Heavenly Parent is my father." Meanwhile, Demonim raised her with the heart of a nanny, maintaining strict standards so that she could grow up pure and devout. Grandmother Jo Won-mo and Hong-sun Demonim believed that the returning Lord would come to North Korea. So they remained there even as the communist regime was established after Korea's liberation from Japan at the end of World War II. Heavenly Parent needed to protect the only begotten daughter while she was growing to maturity. Since Heavenly Parent could not allow her to grow up under communist rule, Heavenly Parent guided and protected True Mother, the only begotten daughter, and her family to keep her safe before and during Korean War, as described below. First, when the only begotten daughter, Han Hak-ja, was 5 years old, to protect her, Heavenly Parent guided her grandmother Jo Won-mo and mother Demonim so their family could journey safely to the south before the Korean War began. Since heaven provided all human beings with a growing period according to the principle of creation, the only begotten daughter born in 1943 also needed a growing period. At that time, although the history of Christianity in Korea was not long, the Korean Christians had made more preparations for the returning Messiah and had a deeper connection to spirit and truth than any other country in the world. This part of God's providence was being fulfilled, centered on Pyongyang. Therefore, because True Mother's hometown was in North Korea, even when the communist regime took control, at first True Mother's family did not consider going south. However, since heaven had to protect the only begotten daughter, in 1948, when she was 5 years old, Heavenly Parent guided the family to go south. Less than 2 years after they journeyed south, the Korean War broke out. When Demonim was detained for 11 days by the communist authorities for being a follower of the Inside the Womb Church, Grandmother Jo Won-mo made the decision that they must journey south, judging it to be dangerous to practice a religious life in North Korea, where religion was being oppressed. She also heard that her son, True Mother's maternal uncle, Hong Son-jong, had enlisted in the South Korean military after returning from his studies in Japan. Since families of South Korean military personnel were under special scrutiny and would not survive in North Korea, this further solidified the family's determination to go south. True Mother's maternal grandfather chose to remain in North Korea to welcome the returning Lord, who was expected to come to Pyongyang. So only the women from the three generations, Grandmother Jo, Demonim, and the only begotten daughter journeyed south. When these daughters from three generations, Grandmother Jo Won-mo, Hong Son-e, Demonim, and Han Hak-ja, the only begotten daughter, were preparing to journey south, they agreed that if they encounter any checkpoints, they would say they were going to meet the little girl's maternal uncle in South Korea. Though it was a difficult journey for the three of them to travel south, they offered prayers and devotions and sang songs about their hope to meet the returning Lord, periodically offering free food vows. As they neared the border between the two Koreas at the 38th parallel, they were stopped by the North Korean People's Army and imprisoned in an empty shed. Through heaven's protection, however, They were safely released after several days, and although the soldier told the family to return north to their hometown of Anju, they continued south and safely reached the 38th parallel. At the 38th parallel, where they had to cross the border into South Korea, the security was also very strict. Just as they were approaching the border, South Korean soldiers heard the family coming and raised their weapons. At that moment, the young Han had managed to avert the crisis by singing a folk song. Upon hearing the young child's sweet voice singing, the soldiers lowered their rifles and warmly welcomed the group. One of the soldiers even gave them travel money to help them safely reach Seoul. After arriving in South Korea, the only begotten daughter and her family went to Seoul and searched for news of her maternal uncle, Hong Son-jong. Having nowhere to turn, they stayed in a shabby, empty house in the city, offering many prayers to Heavenly Parent while they stayed there. During this time, through Heavenly Parent's guidance, they met a friend of Uncle Sonjong on the street and thus could contact and meet him. The first place they settled after that was Yeochangdong, an area adjacent to where the original headquarters church would be established in Chongpadong some years later. Even before the Unification Church was founded, the family of the only begotten daughter lived in that area, offering prayers and devotions for Heavenly Parent's providence. Then, second, when the Korean War broke out, Heavenly Parent led 16 UN nations to participate in the war to protect the only begotten daughter and keep her safe during her time as a war refugee. Though Korea was a small country not well known to the world, 16 UN nations participated in the war and shed blood for the sake of righteousness. For whom did heaven call them to do this? To fulfill Heavenly Parent's dream that was meant to be fulfilled 2,000 years ago through Jesus Christ, the only begotten Son. It was necessary to protect the only begotten daughter who was born 6,000 years after the start of the providence of restoration. The support and sacrifice of the young soldiers from these nations was a welcome and profound blessing and represented Heavenly Parent's love for humankind. On June 27, 1950, 2 days after the Korean War broke out, the family of the only begotten daughter began their life as refugees. While walking toward the Han River in the night rain, the young Han Hakta sensed danger and grabbed grandmother Jo Won-mo's skirt. Surprised by this sudden action, grandmother Jo looked to heaven to think, and then they all turned around and returned to their house. Remarkably, that night, Uncle Sonjong, who was an officer in the South Korean army, came to their home in a military vehicle and drove them across the river so they could evacuate from Seoul. Shortly after they crossed the Han River in their uncle's vehicle, there was a loud boom at the bridge they had just crossed and was blown up. Heaven had worked to protect the only begotten daughter. Having witnessed the horrors of war firsthand, Han Hakta grew up offering devotions with gratitude for heaven's protection, even during her family's desperate life as war refugees, and with a heart filled with sorrow for the young soldiers who had sacrificed themselves for the providence. True Mother, the only begotten daughter, felt and experienced that Heavenly Parent was always with her, protecting and safeguarding her, both during the journey south from North Korea and during her refugee life in South Korea. While she was growing up, no one taught Han Hakja, the only begotten daughter, about God's principles that guide the world. However, just as Adam and Eve conversed with Heavenly Parent in the original Garden of Eden, from her childhood, she grew up following the will through her direct dialogue with Heavenly Parent. During her school days, Han Hakja was loved by her teachers and friends as an exemplary student with proper and modest conduct. She lived a pure life like a nun, enjoying reading and music in a quiet environment. Additionally, everyone was impressed by her confident demeanor when she gave speeches in front of the entire student body as the student leader. Everyone whose lives were touched by the only begotten daughter liked her and treated her with special care, feeling that she was different from ordinary people. And third, personal resolve to participate in the holy wedding. Several months after Demonim joined the Unification Church in 1955, she brought the only begotten daughter to Seoul to introduce her to Reverend Moon Sun-myung, the church founder. In March 1956, they met for the first time in Seoul at the original Chongpadong headquarters church. Upon seeing Han Hakta, the only begotten daughter, who had just graduated from elementary school, he exclaimed 3 times, Han Hakta has been born in the Republic of Korea, and then prayed, God, thank you for sending such an exceptional woman named Han Hakda to Korea. Han Hakja, the only begotten daughter, knew that all of her life had been guided and prepared by Heavenly Parent. From her childhood, she grew up knowing Heavenly Parent as her parent while living a devout and strict life of faith. She lived a pure life, following Heavenly Parent's guidance. Particularly, while reading the Bible, she would shed tears reading about God's history of salvation through central figures, and she cherished the dream of resolving the deep sorrow hand of Heavenly Parent, who had been guiding history to save humankind. Born as the only begotten daughter, Han Hakja fulfilled her portion of responsibility to achieve individual perfection by living a pure life according to the principles of creation and achieving unity of heart with Heavenly Parent. By autumn of 1959, she had grown up pure and devout, understanding heaven's will by herself, and had achieved perfection as a pure woman. About this time, Heavenly Parent appeared directly to her and told her, because I am the Alpha and Omega, I have been waiting for the Mother of the universe since before the creation, and instructed her to prepare for the marriage supper of the Lamb. On February 26, 1960, at the Chongpadong Church, the only begotten daughter and Reverend Moon Sun-myung met again. At this meeting, Reverend Moon declared that Han Hakja would become the true mother who would be blessed by God to enable all humankind, as numerous as the stars in the sky and the grains of sand by the sea, to be reborn as good children. As the only begotten daughter for whom heaven had waited for 6,000 years, she had deeply experienced heaven's heart and resolved, I must make my determination and step forward now. I will do it. As the only begotten daughter sent by Heavenly Parent, she knew she needed to sacrifice and dedicate herself to fulfill heaven's will, and prepared for the holy wedding with a heart of obedience to heaven's will. Her determination was to save humankind and create a peaceful world with a single-minded devotion to fulfill Heavenly Parent's dream. True Mother said, "Because I was born as God's daughter after 6,000 years, I had to fulfill God's hopes. Even if I met with difficulties, I had to think of Heavenly Parent first. So, without hesitation, I made the determination and I would do it. I knew that the course ahead would be a thorny and difficult path, hard to even fathom in advance. However, at that moment, I made a firm determination that, for the sake of God, I would absolutely fulfill the mission to save humanity." So, yeah, in this s- speech of True Mother, we can really see that up until now, we can see her determination to really fulfill her responsibility as the only begotten daughter. Yeah, in the difficult path that she is in this time, we can really see that her determination and love for Heavenly Parent and for all humankind is illuminating through her sacrifice this time. The only begotten daughter knew that the journey she would have to walk after the holy wedding in the role of true parents would be an unfathomable and unimaginably difficult path of thorns. Born as Heavenly Parent's only daughter, she determined by herself that she would absolutely fulfill Heavenly Parent's dream in her lifetime, because there was no one other than herself who could liberate the heart of Heavenly Parent, who had waited 6,000 years. As the only begotten daughter, there were many occasions even before the holy wedding when she renewed her determination to take responsibility for everything and fulfill the mission to save all humankind around the world for the sake of Heavenly Parent. On the day of the holy wedding, after the ceremonies had been completed, the only begotten daughter tearfully said, "God's heart cannot be described in words. I pledge to move forward in unity with all of you, both in heart and in every aspect, until the day the will is fulfilled." Thus began her heavenly Tonjok life, or a life related to heaven, or a life in the manner of heaven, as the true mother of humankind. That would be all. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much for your message. Now I would like to share one more prayer songs. So let's just listen together.
내 자녀가 나를 떠나 돌아섰지만
thank you. Thank you so much again for the message today. Yeah, and it's really inspiring to again study about how God prepared and raised two mother throughout history, and then also how she came on the foundation of 2000 years of Christianity. Yeah, learning this is also remind me of how important it is to help Christians understand the truth about the God only begotten daughters. And yeah, at this time, also in the same time, if it's deep in my gratitude that we were born in this era when God only begotten daughter is here with us. So yeah, again, it's remind us that we have been given a great responsibility to really attend and support to mother, unite with her, and also do our part to help fulfill a God dreams in our time. Yeah. Today I would like to straight because it's time. So let's straight to the
Hello.
yeah.
Can I say?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you today so much, and also thank everyone join Fundov. Just I'd like to announce. I think already you may know. Yesterday evening time. I don't know exact what time. Tsuneko Bab. She passed away peacefully with family. She was 73 years old. She was born 1953, September 11. She was 73 years old. She was one of so much loved by everyone, but also she was one of the incredible, I think, always standing front line. That's incredible. So the yesterday afternoon, I think we had a meeting at church. Daniel and the four missionary, also Chris and Dave, also my wife, is, had a quite detailed meeting and prepare for the Sungwa Onjon ceremony by detail because we using other church, so they, but also already quite many people, I think from Sydney, Reverend John family, also Junie, also other, quite many people already met her, then gave her final respect, but also many of the Victorian members visit, had a final talk, and of course from Queensland, from New Zealand, I think from other area cannot come, but I think shortly Daniel will make a deal program and will be announced detail of the for the schedule of the Wonjong ceremony, all detail. And there are quite many good news, but I think this is really incredible, shocking news. And Melbourne is very cold and rain, and I think we really grateful for and everyone, we truly thank you so much. Just I report for this.
Yes, thank you so much for inform us and for sharing. Hopefully we can all pray for her this time together. So yeah, thank you. Now I would like to share screen, and let's us with a message today in our mind. Also thinking of our blessed family friends, all mine, let's just have a 7 minutes unison prayer together. 아주, 아주, 아주. Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining our 100K today. And yes, hopefully you guys have a wonderful morning and see you again tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rai.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ray.
Yeah.